What's going on, RVJ? It's Overcome and Overpower, man. How you been? That's killing
Pretty
music.
good, man. Back to reality. It's a terrible thing when you got to get back to reality for a guy like me, because I think in a former life, I was probably meant to be a sultan or a king or something with somebody just feeding me drinks and grapes. And that's basically what the cruise life is like, man. It was awesome.
Dude, I've done one cruise, and I couldn't agree more. It's hard. It's a hard thing to come back from, man. That's just the food, the drink, the relaxing. I get it. Did you put on weight?
Man, I don't go know any scales. I'll get on a scale when I feel good about how I'm coming along. You know, I tell people in the comments sometimes, I'm like, I take a shower with my shirt on. And that's just my own body image complex, right? Because I used to walk around very lean and low body fat. And, you know, I'm not fit, but I'm not compared to where I was. So I don't get on a scale. Fuck that shit. Especially since you guys traumatized me at Arm Gods. I saw that number on the scale and I wanted to faint. In my mind, I want to believe it's just all bulk and muscle, but I almost fucking fainted.
I feel better about myself when I put jeans on. I have a phone in my wallet. I'm wearing my shoes. I got a full belly. I'm like, yeah, look at that. Like I know I have the naked in the morning out of the shower version. And then I have the fully dressed version, and I remember all of them.
Like if I had a collared shirt on that when I wore out, like the thickness in my chest and back and stuff, like I look great. I mean, this shirt used to have a little bit of bag on me, and you would think that I shrunk it on purpose, but no, it's just thickness.
That's a triple XL, isn't it? Triple XL.
Yeah. Me and my father-in-law used to jump in this. Now it's just me.
Nice.
Heather just sent me a text for all you people watching, asking me if I was okay with the podcast, if Ryan got the echo straightened out. No, she didn't throw that part in there. And then was like, be nice. Now, I don't know if I was ranting to her a little bit too much yesterday about things I wanted to unload. But for all you guys,
I have heard rumors.
Be nice. What?
I have heard rumors. I didn't watch your last few videos on YouTube, but I've been advised that you had something to say.
Oh, I got a lot to say. I always got a lot to say. Like, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on, so I could definitely touch on all the same stuff that people are like recycling, and we could see if we could recycle it, reduce it, and reuse it better. Or we could touch on that and then spin off to some other shit. Because yes, my last video causes a lot of controversy, as you know, do I. But am I the controversy, or am I just talking about the controversy? This is thought-provoking.
Okay. Well, there is definitely two ways to look at that. Hey, I just want to say a quick shout out. Good morning, good evening, no matter where. It depends where you're watching in the world. To all the people in the chat, we're of course live on multiple locations. If you're watching on Rob's YouTube, my YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, we're live on all those things. So good to see you here. Thank you for joining us.
Twitter, Twitch, and all of it.
We're on everything, man. You know, and we'll get to East vs. West, I'm sure.
And you know, people are asking me about some of my stances. How dare I be on a podcast with you? Well, this is just one of the many reasons. I couldn't even get my phone to go sideways 10 minutes ago, and now I'm on Twitch.
Yeah, and you know, when I did my live commentary for East vs. West 12, Twitter blew up. We had 4,000 people watching on Twitter. Twitter's my smallest social media, and we had 4,000 people watching on Twitter. It was kind of crazy. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, at the moment, it's all YouTube. But that's what's going on tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Rob's back from the cruise. We're back on the podcast, Overcome and Overpower, the podcast you never knew you were going to love so much. Well, you never. What is it? What's the catchphrase?
Perfect people that they never.
Well, the Overcome and Overpower is good.
It's perfect, and we can expand on that one. That's great.
Hang on, if you just put your hand up to the screen, it looks like we could have a ready go almost. Come on, you do it. Can you make that look like we're gripping? Wrong arm, Rob. You got to go the other.
About right. Look at the size. It's about accurate. Now wait, you just gotta move as fast as you can that way. Or
this way,
like that. Something weird. Yeah, it's gotta go like, yeah.
All right, I'll let you pin. I'll let you pin me. Go on, pin me.
Oh,
Hit
you're
me.
gonna let me pin you?
Just once.
Well,
No.
I had always had aspirations of being top 35 in Australia. So, hey, maybe I'll
Well,
get there.
I am sliding on the ranks in Australia as we speak.
Oh, brother, I didn't know they had skiing in Australia. You are going down so fast, you could set a land speed record.
Oh man, I got look that AWE tournament. We'll talk about that, and particularly one man that has emerged from that. But you know, I gotta say, it's actually a nice thing. It's a nice thing to see depth arriving. That's badass. So I'm happy, even though if I get deep and invested in it, I can get defensive and say I think I got ripped off with the refereeing and the calls. But that's sport. Even though the main point is there's some beasts now in Australia, and look, I'll take it. L's where the L's are due. It
Yeah,
was an
well,
awesome tournament.
if we're going to touch on that from the go, I do think that I don't think you could have a match like that with Ron Bath and compete so soon. And listen, let's not get it wrong, because I'm gonna fucking roast you at some point during this podcast. But I don't think you could have a match like that with Ron and be okay in a few weeks, because I felt my match with James Wall, which I'm going to touch on again, because there's some things to say about this that I'm a little bit upset about. But I was still feeling it in some spots. And I don't think you can do that donkey lift every single day to the max and not have your arm be exposed. And I do agree with you that you got fucked against Brett Coots. You clearly got the pin. And like I said, if I'm going to be a speaker of truth, I can't be all hate. I do think you genuinely won that match a couple times.
Yeah, and then I didn't get pinned by Mate Urangi. They that just there touched on the
Nah,
pad.
man, I know how you guys in Australia do. I watch the documentaries. You guys all get those fucking, what is it out there, Labatt's or something? What do you drink? What's the beer out there?
Well, Foster's is the one that the USA thinks we
fucking
drink.
Foster's. The referee had like 15 Fosters. He would be a perfect referee for arm guards. He was all fucked up, and he was making no calls on one side and high calls on another. It was amazing. It was perfect.
But we started here, and guys in the chat, just so you know, I know that Rob's favorite subject of Devin and Levan will come up tonight. We will get there. I know that a lot of you are probably waiting for us to talk about East versus West, and I promise you we will. But we're gonna talk about the other stuff first. But then we'll get to that. There was one man, Rob. I know you've said to me, I've heard you say it a lot of times, everyone's good in their club and all this kind of stuff. And then there's always the dude that comes along that's the genuine genetic freak. Well, Rob, I think we've got one. I think we've got a genetic anomaly that would be a genetic anomaly in any club in the world. I think any club in the world, if this young man, and I'm talking about Rickard Bornman, turned up in any club, they'd all say, oh my goodness, this dude is going to be special. Did you see his performance?
I did. Now, quick question. What's he weigh?
117 kilo.
So what's that? Like 250? So he's like 280.
250. I don't know.
No, that's like 280, right?
No, it's like 260. 255, 260.
All right. Yeah, I mean, big kid. I did see his performance. What I did also notice was that there was not one proper top roller in the room. Like, everybody was victimed. They were either just not even near his strength or not able to neutralize his.
Well, Mate Urangi's a top roller, and Rickard just bulldozed.
But Mate Urangi also had a fucked up match
Island.
at arm guards. He got beat his first round, and when you hit that hard negative and then you go as hard as he did, and I think his first match was a tough match.
Yeah,
he didn't pull the first one.
The thing about Rickard's performance that was truly, for me, the biggest thing was he wiped the floor with everyone in the tournament. No one even slowed him down, right? Then everybody in the room had a crack at him on the after pool. Everyone wanted to grip up with him and just have a feel. He did this for about 45 minutes an hour. No one pinned him. Then Lachlan Adair rocked up. Lachlan warmed up, pulling a couple other dudes, and then says, Rickard pulls through Lachlan. Rickard
Yeah.
doesn't get pinned by Lachlan. And that was the moment that I was like, what is this? I didn't feel bad.
There's always got to be perspective, and it's not taking away from Rickard. It's just saying that when you're in a setting, you don't know what Lachlan's position or serious is. How's his training going for what he's got coming up? You know, I'm 100% sure he's good. Let's just not give him the Bacho Sagnishvili treatment yet. People had Bacho coming off a plane ready to beat Dennis or Levon, and then he loses a match, and now you almost don't hear about Bacho anymore. Bacho got put up so high, the fall was so great.
100%. I 100% agree with you.
Did I see a lot of structural integrity and good skeleton and strength? Absolutely. But there was also lanes tailor-made for him. You're fucked. You were probably the best top roller in that room, and your top roller was dog shit there. You know, you had blown your load with Brett, and I don't think like Brett fell to his lane. Brett fell to that press. And Matt Harangi was already in the other matches coming out here to secure wins. And when you're going out there with a guy who's coming forward on you, you just punched your ticket to fuck city. I don't care. You're not going to sit out there like that with a kid who comes across that hard, and you're already stretched out 2 matches beforehand.
I agree. I do agree. And I do think that there was a part of me that really wanted to have a ready go with Rickard that day. Because I would have tried the top roll, and I think technically I can still potentially confuse him enough that maybe the power difference is equal.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're getting a little bit of like beer goggles here. Rickard is young. He's got a lot of potential. He's clearly very strong in structure. Zero hate. I was very impressed. But
can I show you something?
Who took home a 2 after 35 beers, and you're calling all your friends saying it's fucking Adriana Lima or a 10 or some shit. You fucking back Dua Lipa or something. Like all
the Rickard prophecies, I think, are going to come true. That's now. I want to show you something.
Well,
I train. Whoa. No, just let me show you one thing. I'm going to show you something. It's going to mute us for 30 seconds, guys. But I trained with Lachlan and Rickard tonight. Okay, we didn't do table time. Lachlan built a new machine, or he got his fabricator. You know the Ivan Matashenko wrist curl setup thing that he's got, where his forearms supported, and he's just doing that. Okay, I'm going to show you Rickard tonight doing that. Okay, he beat me. He beat Lachlan all by a big margin. And I'm going to show you his peak lift that he did tonight. All right. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Now, Rickard. Do it. 100 kilos. You got it, bro. You got it. Come on! Easy, well done, man. Well done.
General.
100 kilo wrist curl. If you missed the audio you heard there, he did it easy. He thinks he could do 115. That was with a fat.
There's a little problem I have with those types of wrist curls, and that's that when you have one of these, it actually makes the pulling force further down in your palm. So if you grab it like real low, and you can just pop it, the center hole is actually harder than doing a 1-inch D-ring. A 1-inch D-ring, you could put all the way out here at the end of your hand, and it's more pressure on your wrist.
So where that was set, where the cable was
way at the base of his palm. And I'm not, listen, I know the kid's very strong. Let's not get it twisted. But if we're getting into analytics, and I'm also not a fan of pop lifts. I've never once done a pop lift. And
that wasn't the range of motion is only an inch, like on the actual cable. So
curl, it's not an inch though. It's like the weight pop. Like let's get it curled and sustain it. Because what good is if you have that strength like this?
Well, I promise you, watching the rest of the night, like he was repping that afterwards. It was.
So wait, he went from smelling salts to maximum one.
That was his first
same night. Does that not tell you how the move can be manipulated?
Well, what I'm saying is 100 kilos was not 100 kilos was not his limit, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that he didn't know
if you took the 1-inch D ring and put it out here in his calluses, because he went from it being a max to reps. That's manipulation. That's team. Hey,
no,
that's
no,
team
no, no, no,
Bowen
no.
shit.
It wasn't a max. Listen. It wasn't a max because we'd never done it before, and he was suspecting that it was going to be a max. Hence, he sniffed the salts and went for it. He thinks that he could do 120, 115 is what his true max would be on that setup with that grip and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Look, regardless,
the weights I curl at Planet Fitness.
look.
Crazy.
But all I'm saying, like this dude is a year and a half in, and I'm telling you, Lachlan Adair's max tonight, he was real, like he was going as hard as he could, and he tapped out at 90. Okay, and Rickard did the same with the same handle, the same grip, the same setup, did 100 easy. So the only point I'm trying to make is this dude's different, and at a year and a bit in, it's like, what the?
I definitely believe he's very strong, but you've just got to be very careful with the implications and the lifts and the stories, because lifts can be very easily manipulated. You know, I mean, we're not going to argue that Levon is strong, but I see Levon curl 50 kilo, it's like this. 60 kilo, it's like that. 80 kilo, 100 kilo, 120 kilo.
Yeah.
So he's doing way more weight, but the lift's just more manipulated. I mean,
yeah. Look, tall. He says, "Look, RVJ's being negative today." Says Tall Paul.
Why is RVJ being negative? How's this? How come every time I'm not blowing somebody or agreeing with the masses, is it negative? It's fucking analytics. How's this? You watch basketball and they'll say, "Oh, LeBron James is the GOAT." And people go, "No, he's not." And they'll give you 10 reasons why he's not the GOAT. That's not actually banging on fucking LeBron James. It's actually giving you reasons why Michael Jordan or Wilt Chamberlain is actually more in the discussion than LeBron. They can all sit there and say, LeBron's great, but he's not the GOAT. And that's not negativity. If we're going to get in the world of analytics and sports, and we're going to look at things for what they are, and what we have overseas is weight implications. Well, when people manipulate weights and now do 10 times the weight of what other people are doing, you've got to look at why. Is he just a Superman, or is there something more to it? So, and listen, never trust somebody who tries to appeal to the masses by being everybody's buddy, because then they're a shapeshifter. Yeah. If you try to do what everybody likes, you will never fill or stand for anything. You will never have any kind of constitution.
I don't disagree with you at all, and I'm actually very good at manipulating lifts. You might be surprised, Rob.
I'm a fucking meathead now. RVJ, Rob, you're a meathead. What do you know about statistics? Well, I'm going to tell you what. I educate myself before I get into a debate. I actually come in pretty educated. I bring a gun to a gunfight. What do you know about what I know about statistics? So there's that one.
There you go. Rob's chat.
Moving on. Yes, Rickard is definitely strong, but he's a super heavyweight, and we're going to have to see him tested against proper super heavyweights who are properly taking the proper lanes. Because all you guys out there, you know, that was a shit show out there. Let's be honest. That was a fucking shit show.
Well, I can tell you, anyway, we'll get off the Rickard train in a moment, but I can tell you his top roll is as good as his hook press. That's all.
Well, how the fuck would you know? You got a wrist like a fucking Pez dispenser.
Don't worry. We'll sort that out, Rob, you and me, at some point this year. We know that's going to happen.
Well, that's another conversation. I don't know about that.
What's this one? Well, you're backing out again.
Man, I don't know. Like, listen, let's revisit something. Let's get right off to this.
All right.
When you first started your little train of chasing me, you wanted to get your recognition and everything, and you started chasing me down because I was the pinnacle of the WAL. You didn't go to any of the other guys.
That's true.
You wanted the guy that was constantly winning because it was a great match for you. Yeah, now, let's just take that ideology. Why the fuck am I going to arm wrestle a guy that if he went through the arm wrestling McDonald's and the wins were on the dollar menu, you couldn't scrape enough fucking change together out of your ashtray to buy a fucking win lately?
To buy a win.
Wow. What would I do with that? You know what? Golly, you know, I actually think you're pretty good. But it seems lately in tournament sense, wins, loss columns, I mean, you guys are two big internet sensations. You and Schoolboy got to wrestle for who's the bottom 8 of the internet fucking heroes.
Well, dude. You can't look. I love Schoolboy, but you can't compare me to Schoolboy. Schoolboy is actually disappointed me. But hang on, before we get on to Schoolboy disappointing me, at the end of the day, Rob, you know I think you're enjoying the fact that I've had a couple of L's. That's cool, but
Oh yes.
The thing is, you and I we've been in the same room a couple of times now where we've got to watch each other arm wrestle. We've got to develop a sense of it, and I have to say, I think you're projecting some inner dream that you're gonna crush me. I don't think you actually think you can crush me. I think you're worried that we'll get stuck, and when we get stuck,
in what
you don't know what
combat sport does the guy who loses like 5 in a row go against the guy who's been winning the whole year? I mean, that's fine.
Look, I beat James
okay.
Wall. I beat James Wall as well. I beat James Wall as well when I faced him.
You beat him left-handed, motherfucker.
Well,
that's like saying you beat Oleg Zoke right-handed. Wow, let's slow clap for you, motherfucker. Let's go. And let's not forget that how long ago was it? Listen, James Wall, we are going to talk about, but listen, he came in there thick, juicy, different pads, different day. I mean, what happens? I saw Irakli Zarakashvili get killed by Sasha and then comes back a little bit later and beats him. Let's not just sit there and say you beat a guy how long ago, left-handed, that equates to now right-handed. Ryan, please, you said you have a high table IQ. Let's not talk nonsense.
All right.
Oh
we won't go back on data that I have against the same man that you just beat. But anyway, look.
How can you? You have no experience.
The true reason you want the match, and look, the match has to happen. The reason I say it has to happen is it would be a disservice from myself and yourself if we didn't provide the sport with the opportunity to know the conclusion. They will be sick and tired of me saying I can get in the match and beat you, you saying you can wipe the floor with me. If we never do it, it will be a disservice to the arm wrestling world.
Oh my God!
For that reason, I know that you want to do it, and I know that
usually charge $1.99 for these phone calls. But when I'm not arm wrestling, I put my wizard cap on and I pull out my crystal ball, and usually I'll give you a fortune reading right now, and I'm 100% accuracy every time. And I've seen it 10 times, and I was going to give you a free reading. But, dude, in the crystal ball with my Zorba cap on, I am telling you, you don't win that match. Especially with some of the fucking scrubs you've been getting beat by. No, I'm just kidding. They're not scrubs, but you're taking a little bit of it. You're on a rough patch, brother.
Well, it's all good. It's all good. I'm happy. I'm a long game dude. I'm a long game dude.
You're not happy. Stop with that optimistic.
No. There's no. I actually am. I remember
that's watching one of your videos
reason.
You go. I learned.
The reason why I fall. Look, dude. My catchphrase that you're trying to remember is seek out the losses till you can't find them anymore. That's the process that I've applied from the beginning. Seek them out in the region, seek them out in the state, seek them out in the country. Now I'm at the point where I'm having to seek them out with people like you. So that's kind of
your fucking mailman. It's in your backyard, bro. At one point in time, you thought you had to go to Russia, and you didn't realize you just had to cross the street.
Well, look, like I said, I am on the slide. I'm happy to admit I'm on the slide. There's some good arm wrestlers here now.
Did you ever see National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
No, I couldn't remember it accurately.
Fucking Australia. Well, anyways, Carl Griswold gets this new, almost synthetic, Teflon that's supposed to be 1,000 times slipperier than anything on Earth, and they put it on a sled to go sledding, and he goes down the hill, and his sled catches fire because he hits such warp speed down the hill. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you get where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Kind of going down the hill fast.
Yeah, but I know that I've actually when we were in Ireland, who was it that came up to me? It was one of the dudes, one of the European dudes, the lightweight European dudes. Anyway, he came up to me and he said it was really fascinating watching you and Bogdan, you being in Bogdan's corner. And he said he recalled the Bogdan match, and he said, I've never seen someone capitulate against you so much because of the mental pressure of not losing to Ryan Bowen. And he said it's a real thing. He said people are so worried about losing to you that some handle it well. Ron Barth handled it well, but he was at the same time I ain't losing to Ryan Bowen. you will feel that pressure more than anyone that's ever stepped across the table from me. If you lose to me, Rob, I don't know what it would do to you. Honestly, I fear.
Well, I know what it would do. It would
What
put
would
me in
it
the
do?
top 50 rankings of Australia, because right now I've got no Australian experience. So if anything, in a backhanded way, I would be ranked in a new continent.
Well, there we go. That's something you can. We
No,
can.
the truth is I understand what you're talking about with that pressure. However, I mean, I've got to pick it. This is a combat sport, and you can only get so much damage on the arm. So, I mean, I need a hell of a Billy Mays Hayes sale pitch over here, give me about weight. Because if I'm going to invest my time with training and injuries and trying to pursue this in all the ways that have its difficulties to keep going, I mean, I'm trying to figure out my why when I can get like all the glory that arm wrestling has to give. Just think of the 35 likes I might get if I go beat somebody East versus West. I might actually get 2 or 3 people on my Facebook that say beast. You know what I'm saying? All that glory that keeps me up at night, I got to chase that. Because pulling you is like, I don't get any likes or thumbs up anymore. Back in the day, maybe. Man, your stock plummeted. You're like fucking Ghost Strong when Lance Armstrong got popped for the roids. I used to have one of them jackets.
Look, the truth is, that the best possible payday you could get is if you and I had a good match. That you just know that. Unfortunately, like you can't deny it. I'm not trying to big note myself here, but I'm saying
listen, I don't have like sponsors banging down my door or anything.
Hey, Deeps has asked an interesting question. I actually want to know it too. I've highlighted on the screen. Can Leonidas humble RVJ? That match, and I want to talk about that match a little bit because that match actually, it was the most. I ran a poll, right? When I was commentating live, I ran a poll before every single match. And Schoolboy was the 87%.
Wow, there's a bunch of people in the comments, man.
Favorite to win. Anyway, and Leonidas beat Schoolboy. I thought Schoolboy really disappointed me. He's disappointed me once before. He lost to Khaled. He's disappointed me again. No offense to Leonidas, but I think Leonidas is still new in the sport. Clearly a strong human, but he's new in the sport. Schoolboy let me down. I think
what I don't understand is when am I not humble? Some people think, there's an old expression my father used to say that bragging's not bragging if you can do what you say. And sometimes people think I'm angry when I'm just bringing up a conversation or analytics. Now, again, this comes with the humble thing. I hate motherfuckers who are fake humble. I've seen more people on this internet be like, oh, they're wonderful. I'm going to try my best. And behind, when the camera's off, they're like, that guy's a piece of shit. I'm going to kill him. I can't wait. What is humble? What did I do that's not humble? I've given nothing but respect to every person I've competed with. Go back to Sasha. Go back to Zarab. Go back before that in the WAL when I was dominating. Go to everybody. I give respect. I show aggression on the table, and I immediately give nothing but respect. And I give them respect online. So fuck with the humble, but I'm not going to downgrade myself and cheapen my abilities because it makes you all feel good. You know what I'm saying? You all with your fucking Linus blanket that need people to be humble and walk around your blanket of humility, and that's the people you gravitate towards too because they make you feel good. Fuck off with that. I'm as humble as I'm about to be. So this is where you can click off if you don't like that shit.
Oh man, yeah. The humble thing is an interesting one. Ryan's delusion is his superpower. You'll never humble him, says Spacey. Yeah, it all just depends on the way you look at it. Whether it's like I don't know many arm wrestlers, truthfully, that at the end of a match don't shake hands and get along and respect each other. I actually haven't seen a match ever that I was physically present for end in two dudes really genuinely pissed at each other. So I think that most arm wrestlers are quite respectful and humble in that sense, in defeat and in victory.
But there is definitely a legion of straight up fucking dickbags. Make no mistake about it. Straight up cocky dickbags that when they're in the public eye, they play the old fucking politician thing of, oh, he's so wonderful and so great, and I'm so honored, and you're fucking honored to go arm wrestle somebody. Honored. Man, get the fuck out of here. And it's just those people. This is why my YouTube is mediocre, not even lukewarm, because everyone likes the person.
It's growing pretty quick.
We can all be champions. We can all be winners. We can all be Michael Jordan. We just got to keep believing. Oh man.
What do you? What? Yeah. Look, obviously the data and the reality is that not everyone can achieve the champion status. But like I am someone who I'm a subscriber to the theory of no one can stop you from becoming what you want to become. Like you might not get there, but no one can prevent you from literally giving your best. As soon as you actually accept that, all right, I'm not going to make it, you basically are capping
Yeah,
off
but you also
your
have to be
finish
smart
line.
enough to know when you're chasing futility, when you're like putting your efforts in a futile endeavor, because maybe the thing you want might not be what you're made for. You see,
It's true, of course,
I
it's true.
might have wanted.
But what I
to
would
be-
what I would make the bid is that the perception of the world, the community, even a lot of people close to you that know you, doesn't know what you're actually capable of. They jump to doubts and conclusions that are a way lower rank far
Oh,
earlier than they should. Far
now,
earlier
for
than
that,
they
I
should.
agree. The human capacity, if you have will, you could far exceed what you think and society thinks you're capable of. But that doesn't mean you're going to exceed in the same endeavor with some other freaky motherfucker over there is pursuing either. You know what I mean? Like I said,
Yeah.
and I love this one
Well,
because nobody's arguing with me.
Rickard Bourneman. I've been at it for 11 years. Rickard Bourneman 1 year, and he wipes the floor with me. So I get it. Look, there are different. Everyone's different, but
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
a
going to
big
stop.
fucking
I know
world,
I'm
man.
not
It's
going
a
to.
big
I know
world.
I'm not going to stop. I know I'm not going to stop, and I'm going to keep going.
Well, no
and
one's telling you to stop.
I
And
think
Rickard's in a different weight class too. He's in a different
that's
class than
true.
you.
Well, I'm 103 kilos right now. But anyway, when I get to the end of my life and my grandchildren are showing me, watching some videos with me on my deathbed, I'm pretty damn certain the one they're going to show me most is Dad, Granddad, do you remember that time you beat that dude from Boston? And he was so upset.
Fuck? Cheeky little shit is that?
And it's gonna literally be the last video I watch as I die with my great grandchildren. It was pretty awesome. I got this amazing stop. Rob tried to press me and then just couldn't finish it. His hand busted back. I did the
what's
climb
fucking
regrip,
scary?
pressed him to the victory, and it was like, and then that's it.
You know what's super
end on a
scary?
good note.
In the world of deep fake, and AI, I actually believe you can compose one of those videos at some point in time. That's crazy.
Probably.
That scares me.
Probably. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, I think that's me manifesting. Look at that.
Yeah, I hope on my deathbed my kids just say like I was a really good dude, and then maybe they tell my great grandkids that like I was actually pretty strong. If I get a freaky great grandchild or something, like, hey, your granddad was pretty strong. Definitely was the best guy in Australia.
No, well, that actually is Todd Hutchins at the moment. Todd Hutchins is the king of Australia. So, but that is a man you've got pins on. So anyway, hey, all right, we touched on it before. We'll use this as a transition into the East vs West card. We got 254 people watching live. Thank you, everybody. Please hit the like and share and all that sort of stuff as you do. Keep us pumping up on this podcast. But we're going to transition now into talking about some of the East vs West matches, and I want to kick it off with Schoolboy and Leonidas. We already touched on it. Schoolboy dropped the ball, in my opinion. I think Schoolboy is a far more experienced arm wrestler. Leonidas, as strong as he is still working it out. He'd pulled Larry prior, and then this one. I think that Schoolboy struggles to follow through with commitment in his game plan. I feel like he doesn't back himself. I feel like he makes mistakes that he shouldn't be making, and he ends up out of position. He ends up fighting in lanes that is not designed for him. Leonidas did a fantastic job of winning the high ground. The shorter man, smaller arm won the high ground every round, and Schoolboy had to pin him with this most atrocious side pressure with no wrist. And after round one, it was really evident that, oh my goodness, Leonidas is going to dominate hand control and it's all over. Like, I don't know. Have you seen the match, Rob? Because it disappointed me.
So the problem is the whole time this happened, I was on a cruise with no internet, and it was actually kind of peaceful and nice. So I didn't see anything. All I did was I saw the Devin and Levon match, and that was it. I didn't see any other matches from East versus West. I don't know hardly any of the results. So this is a tragedy, right? But I wasn't totally surprised, though, because I figured that from watching Leonidas pull he does have a really good, strong, sticky point in the straps, even with a flat wrist. Right?
Dude,
That's a
he
lot of that really
dominated.
good arm strength comes in.
Leonidas' wrist was bent the whole night.
Yeah, that's weird to me. That's
Yeah.
either a really good strap setup in game, or like you said, a massive schoolboy failure.
Yeah, I thought
Could be a
it was a
combination of
schoolboy
both.
failure. I thought it was a schoolboy failure. He looks to me like he's uncertain whether he's top rolling, high hooking, or hooking. I feel like he guesses right up to the last moment and changes his mind and then makes the wrong decision. I've never seen him just declare, "Look, I'm the tall guy. I'm a low hand top roller. What are you going to do about my pronation? What are you going to do about my back pressure?" And just bust the man's wrist back. He floundered around searching for stuff.
I just want to know what the education in the group is, because I want to know who we're attracting for viewers. Because I don't want the people that, are into that thumbtack match trying to watch real arm wrestlers talk about arm wrestling. And people are sitting here saying, I get rinsed by Leo as well. Where the fuck do you add this up? The guy got 2 wins in arm wrestling, and all of a sudden, because the guy's got his fake little muscles and he beats 2 guys that I would wax as well, I get rinsed by him. So at least if you're going to come to a debate, tell me why. Please just tell me fucking why. Anyways, go on.
Yeah.
It was a failure. Leo was just flat stronger, sometimes stronger in the right lanes.
Well,
just gets the job done.
That was the clear evidence that, look, you have to give Leonidas credit for his bicep strength. His wrist flexion was obviously right up there. It was so much so that he was actually able to take the high ground and leave Schoolboy with no hand control, even on the table anywhere. So look, credit to him to beat Schoolboy, who I've credited Schoolboy twice now as being the favorite and the arm wrestler at the table. When he pulled Khaled and when he pulled Leonidas, I thought he's the more experienced guy. He's clearly going to dictate terms. He's clearly going to make all the better technical decisions. He should win. But Leonidas canceled all that out, and so you got to give him credit. I don't know who Leonidas faces next.
That's a little bit of a misconception. Thinking that somebody does something more means they're doing it. Like, experience equals that they're doing it right. You could be 20 years experience in the sport and still be a terrible puller for how you're supposed to pull, or even technically.
Yeah.
I mean, there are guys with, it's like that. I see guys that are very experienced as far as years involved, but they don't move and pull like they're experienced pullers.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that Leonidas actually looked like he had far superior endurance as well. Schoolboy, albeit he's hand gassed first. So once your hand gasses, the rest of the chain starts getting exposed much earlier. But he looked like he was really running out. He couldn't hang with it. And in the end, like, he was being forced to flop press. He won a round flop pressing, but that was desperation stakes then. And by the end, Leonidas just trounced him with side pressure straight off the go bang. It was all over. So
yeah.
The score ended up 3-2, but anyway, you and Leonidas, a lot of people saying that in the chat, you and Leonidas, would you pull Leonidas or?
Of course I would. I said it in one of my videos. I said, sure. It's arm wrestling, bro. I'm not going to fucking shy away from it. It's why I got into the sport. I didn't get into the sport thinking 20 years ago that I would go, it would be cool if I got into the sport, get some internet love, and then start a YouTube talking.
And then avoid everyone. Everyone.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well done, Leonidas. If I imagine a match with you and him would be, you'd actually somewhat go in, but I think you would have far superior rotation. I think his biceps amazing. His wrist flexion looks pretty damn good, but I haven't seen him have to get.
And the misnomer is that I'm underestimating him. I said in my video, like, all you fucking guys, at least if you're going to come at me, at least watch my shit. I said he's strong. I said he's good. I said he looks like he knows, he's got an idea of what's going on. Just because I don't think he's going to beat me doesn't mean I'm cutting the guy down. I don't have to sell myself short to make other motherfuckers feel good.
Yeah.
Why do I got to be the sacrificial lamb for everyone else's fragile fucking ego?
Well, you're just too easy to prod and poke. You just talk so much when everyone pushes you. So
all you guys take that stoic mentality of, like, can't be touched. Oh, you're such a beta because you let words get to you. Fuck you. Every guy I've ever seen that's a Sigma deep down inside here is a fucking train wreck. The difference is I let it be. I carry it on my sleeve and I'm real and I'm open with it. All these guys who act like they're Zen are home popping fucking pills, talking to shrinks and ready to blow their fucking head off. Trust me, I've been around this world a lot. Fucking fake
There you
stoicism. And then as soon as they're under the microscope, they're ready to have a nervous breakdown.
Do you ever, and this is a personal question, do you ever struggle to keep up with your own, like, do you recall everything you've said? Or do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recall everything I said, even when I'm hammered.
Yep. I didn't even think
Why?
of that. But
Why?
yeah.
What do I have a problem with?
Just good. No, nothing a problem. I say it in the sense of, like, when you talk a lot, the internet will take pieces and of stories and all this kind of stuff. Well, here's what you said about this guy. Here's what you said about that guy. And,
well,
like,
sometimes people want to write their own narrative.
Yeah.
Sometimes people want to write their own narrative, and it's like they can paint the picture of you. If you got enough content out there, kind of like they did with your delusional Bowen thing, they can take pieces, and spin it however they want. So people could take one piece of me and make me a total villain if they want. And I accept that, because if somebody's going to put that much effort in, I mean, what can you do about it? But I mean, I know what I've said. The easiest way to not get caught up in a shtick or live is to just be fucking real and honest.
What is it? I'm not trying to push your buttons here, Rob, but what do you think about this comment?
Which one?
Oh, I just featured it on the screen. It said,
"Oh, just ask
Michael,
the fucking thing, 'cause I can't see it at my phone."
Okay, yeah. Oh, good. Michael Workspace says the smallest dog barks the loudest.
Well, we already know that's bullshit, because I'm not the smallest dog. I'm just a very vocal person about my thoughts and feelings. I mean, if I was the smallest dog, I'd have the worst record in the sport, which really on the wins-losses column, I probably got one of the best ever. The smallest dog barks less. That's what you call a fucking fake Sigma comment. Like, you sit there on your Zen temple floating and giving me some shit from, like, Kung Fu Panda. Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm just literally giving. This is why we have these conversations. We talk about arm wrestling. We give thoughts. The smallest dog barks the loudest. I mean, come on, give me something real that you didn't get from a fortune cookie.
Well, there we go. Joseph Anthony said the smallest dogs physically can't bark the loudest. What a stupid comment. So yeah.
Exactly. Little voice box. They yap. Small dogs yap. They go.
Actions do speak louder than words, as Legend of Nelda Tears says. RVJ is top 10 in North America at his weight class, but definitely not top 10 in the world. That's so. Someone's saying that
in my weight class, I dominated and wiped out the weight class when I was there in North America, and then we hit COVID, and then I went against off the couch the very best guy in my weight class. So we don't know where I was then. I have said now that I think I would beat Sasho, now that I think I would beat Zarab, but where do you get that I'm not top 10? I got pins. I'm almost a 50-50 ratio with Todd Hutchings when I was 195 pounds. And he went over there and smacked Irakli and Angarbayev at higher weights. And Todd Hutchings was cutting from 225 in the WAO, and I was a true walker on 195. So Todd Hutchings was going to Zloty, winning it. He was beating all the WAF guys, and you guys are sitting there saying I'm top 10 in the country? Get the fuck out of here. Please line me up with the guys in my country that will beat me.
At your weight.
Please give me number 10 in the world. Don't give me number 1. Just give me number 10. How's this?
Yeah.
I would love if they gave me a progressive
Who is number 10 in North America?
I've had people say that I'm not top 20, not top 50. Perfect. Give me a progressive climb for number 50. I'll pull them. The promoters will never do that, though, because they're not as stupid as the people in this comment. Give me number 50. After I beat number 50, I'll go to number 49. And I'll just keep taking small paychecks all year long, and I'll go to 48. And then we'll see how far I go before I lose for all you geniuses.
Well, look, I don't for a second think, my honest opinion of you is, if your weight is 210, you're number 1 in the USA. There's no doubt in that. At 230, I feel like people like Marcio and John and that they're.
But let's not forget, I had wins on those guys when I was lighter.
Well, my next words were, and you go back and forth with them. So that's the truth of that. That's how
I went back and forth with them without being 230. You know this. I went back and forth with them when I was 205 or 200. Now I'm 230, 235. It's different.
Legend, I want to just quickly say something to Legend, because this is the dude who brought this up to say you're not top 10 in the USA. He says, where's your proof? You can't just say, I think I'm top 10 in the world without backup. Legend, look, the onus of proof is on you to go and dig that up, because, look.
Well, okay, so listen, just to put it out there.
There's so much video evidence.
I beat Dave Chafee when Dave Chafee was winning WAF. I've got wins on guys who were killing Zloty and killing WAF. I beat Sylvain Perron when he was a 220 WAF champion. So to say I can't win place in Worlds when I beat WAF champions, guy, come on, do your homework.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that this is an interesting thing about the internet, that I genuinely do think that it's weird that every comment, Ron Barth said this to me in Ireland. He said, honestly, I'm not a social media dude, and unless I don't know the dude commenting, I just give it no weight at all. But the internet will allow anyone to have a comment that is just as prominent. So I don't even know who this Legend of Elder Tears is, but he clearly has no idea about your past or history. And that highlights the point about the internet.
I'm one of those people that can get sucked into these conversations, because I think when you start shying away, it's almost like pay no mind. Like, you only pay mind to the positivity and not the negativity. And I think that's like tiptoeing about what you would like to hear. And I'm sure it brings less negativity and it opens the door for a lot of trolls. But when you only like pay mind to the positivity, like, oh, thank you, brother. Blessed day, brother. Let's all be blessed, brother. And then all the people like saying bullshit. I like to call bullshit, because a lot of times those people have no backing and it makes them look stupid.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Hey, if Rob's top 10, Bowen is top 100. Ha 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 ha, says Canon Maximo.
There you go.
Hey, well, in the world of tennis, which was the previous world that I used to be in, and arm wrestling, like, what do you think of it? Where's the spectrum on this? In tennis, the 100th ranked dude, he's not beaten Federer. He's not beaten Djokovic. He's not beaten any of those dudes. But the 100 ranked dude on a good day can pull off a win against the top 20 guy.
I'd say I just saw something. It might have been a year or two ago, because I actually like to watch tennis. And I think that there was a huge upset about somebody who was like not even ranked in the top 100 getting a win on one of the girls. I think it was females that was like a top 20 girl. Yeah. Or maybe the top 10. It was like a huge upset. All you got to do is have a good game. And I mean, I don't think arm wrestling is quite as similar, but I think
what's the range?
What's the range? I think the field is closing in enough that, well, let's just go like this. Tom Holland was seen as a guy that's like, yeah, he's good for UK and he's gritty and whatnot, but he would get killed at WAF. Killed. Mm-hmm. People think like, oh, he's just a lanky fucking guy from the UK. If you're not from one of those power countries like the Ukraine, Russia, Georgia, Turkey, Uzbekistan, whatever the fuck they pull, whatever, Kazakhstan, you're not seen as a power guy. Where Tom Holland just beat a number 2 WAF placer, a guy who's got wins on Talgat Akhtayev, many time world champion.
And he waxed him too.
Tom Holland at Arm Gods didn't just beat him, he threw him in his lane and mopped him. And here's a guy who was probably not even considered top 30 in that weight class because of internet speculation. And he just beat the guy who took second at Wolves, and he did it easy.
Yeah, Tom Holland may well be the best in the world at that weight right now.
Nobody would have even considered it before that match. Not anybody outside of the circle who respects him. But the world of the internet would have called him the delusional Tom Holland, and anyone else who thought it would have been delusional. So
hey,
there are people
you saw me pull Baek Seong Yeol. Tom's pulling Baek Seong Yeol May 11th, knuckles up, number 3. I really am intrigued by that match. I think it's super interesting because my experience with Baek Seong Yeol was he had such amazing commitment to side pressure. I think it's going to go into the hook. I think Tom's got better rotation, but the length of the lever of Baek Seong Yeol, I don't know who wins this match. I'm super. How do you see that match? Tom Holland, Baek Seong Yeol.
Well, the problem is a lot of people associate Tom Holland with just a gritty, deep hook. But he does have a pretty crispy top roll when he needs to pull it out there. And if he gets secured on it, he's wiry enough that he can kind of like top roll, but kind of get that really tight wedged in, like pressy type this way.
So you think Tom will try to beat Baek the same shape that I used to beat Baek, which was what you described.
And Tom's crispy with it. He might get a sneaky weird hook in there that they dogfight out, because I think that Tom's going to put him on the defense. I think Tom's very fast, and I think he's a more complete arm wrestler than a lot of people would like to give credit to. But eventually, a guy can only get so many results before you have to stop discounting them. You know what I mean? Results do speak.
I like that.
A person can only keep winning until people got to stop saying that he's not where he belongs.
Yeah, I like that match. Tom Holland's actually my favorite arm wrestler in the world. He is. I love the dude. I think he's so cool to watch.
Yeah, I love the guy. I hung with him after Knuckles Up in the airport, and I even told him, I'm like, dude, fucking give me an invite. I'll come out to your wedding. I love that whole group of people out there. So he's definitely a good, gritty arm wrestler. But the problem is nobody saw him coming. So people's speculation and what is and what can be doesn't necessarily make truths. You know, there's a lot of people when I mentioned pulling Irakli because of my current shape, where I believe I am, and where I've been, and my weight, and just my own history, my own analytics. And people think that that's totally fucking nuts. But I also remember when Jerry Cataract was going to pull Matt Mask, it was one of the most lopsided polls I've ever seen in my life. All the experts on the internet, it was like 90% to 10 thought Mask was just going to flash over Jerry because he doesn't have a hand, and Mask was going to go like this, wham! And I remember saying, like, I asked Matt how he felt about it, and he was like, oh, man, I'm so strong. I've never been so strong. I'm going to kill this guy. I'm like, are you going to top roll him? He's like, oh, right to the fucking pad. I was like, and I like Matt, and I like Jerry, but I had experience with Jerry, and I've seen Jerry pull the best top rollers, and they all fall into the same trap. And I was like, might be a bad idea, bro, because I don't think you got the arm strength of the other guys who lost to him. And what happened? All the internet said it was going to be a 3-0, and you're right. I think it was a 3-0, or maybe 3-1.
No, I think Matt got one round.
There might have been a sneaky pin in there, but I know at one point in time, Jerry pushed and almost broke a motherfucker's arm. It almost broke his arm off. And this was the internet was like, never more certain about an outcome than that match. 90 to 10, 90% to 10%. And Jerry won very decisively to the point where I thought he actually damaged Matt. So much for opinions. Opinions don't make reality. Yeah,
no, that's I don't know why people would go to 90-10. Like, I mean, my gut, I mean, hindsight's a much easier thing to look at, but to me, Jerry, that style, if you're a dude that can connect to a strap underneath, a top roller is who you want to face. That's the dude that's the bread and butter for Jerry. I mean, Jerry had a 10-0 win record over Travis during Travis's prime until Travis finally worked out how to actually just press him, and at the WAL, he finally got the.
I'm not even sure that outcome would be the same, even with Travis knowing the lane, if Travis was in shape, because that start was so messy with, Travis already being coiled and on top. If they got started square, like personally, I think
you were in the room. You were in the room,
yeah. Personally, I think Jerry got fucked against Devin. I think Jerry beat Devin straight up. The start was so played. Those times when Devin was coiled in on him, talking shit, blowing his load, like Devin was already like in on him, coiled in and on top of him, and they went 3-2. But I think that Jerry got the juice in that match a little bit. Not a little bit, a lot of it.
Okay. Kind of like did you see? I don't know if it's actually got any legitimacy to it, but I saw Travis Vigeant post on his Facebook 2-3 days ago. New mission to become the number one arm wrestler in the world once again. Is that Travis pulling our legs, or is that? I haven't seen the follow up, but is that? Let's assume it's real in his intent. How high can Travis get? He's 45,
Listen what Travis
6, 7.
Is doing, okay, Travis.
I know. I think I know what Travis is doing too.
Travis is a very good salesman. Especially when it comes to selling himself. Now, if you gave him the pen, like in Wolf of Wall Street, I don't know if he could sell you the pen, but I know he could sell you himself, especially when we're in like a 95% world that eats up what they see on the internet and they're gullible. So as he tells people that he's amazing and never been so strong, I don't know if he believes that, and I don't even believe it's true. Do I think that we'll ever see Travis the way he was at 28 years old or so? But what I do think is he's going to make people believe it enough to pay-per-view it enough to justify the payday he wants. And
Who's
Travis is
who's he gonna pull? Who would he pull though? Like if Travis if he was gonna do it,
taking money to taking losses for a payday.
I remember one of the first times I sat down with John Brzezinski. I think it was in Moldova, 2018. We were talking about paydays for athletes at the time, and he told me a story about how he's a shy sort of guy. He doesn't like to negotiate with promoters. He just accepts whatever they offer him, all that kind of stuff. And he said, but then I learned early in my career, just say to the promoters, just pay me what you're paying Travis. And
Yeah.
that was the line that John went with, because he knew Travis was going to get a good deal.
I've always had a problem asking for money, even with workplaces, because I feel like I shouldn't have to ask for it. It should be appreciated. I worked hard. Just pay me my fucking money. And I think the same thing with arm wrestling. Okay, I've been around for 20 years. You know, I talk a lot. I have a good track record. Like, pay me what you think I'm worth. But Travis would come out there and be like, all right, let me break down my fucking sheet. All right, I want this.
Hey,
I want to stay at this hotel, but I don't like that Four Seasons shit. That place is shady. I want to stay at the fucking Hilton. And if you're going to give me a car, I need a bigger car, so you better get something, because, you know, I got them long legs. I'm 6'3". I'm kind of freaky. You
exactly.
know, I'm a stud. And then if some food, but I don't want none of that fucking buffet food. I want to be eating, you know, where I get some steaks and some good shit.
You know, give me the steaks.
And he'll lay it down and he'll have a price list, and the fucker probably gets it. And here's where I'm in a little bit of a conundrum where I do have a little bit of jealousy and salt. Apparently, I'm not a fucking Sigma, guys. I am subject to jealousy and salt. Whereas I'm pretty fucking sure if I'm going to go to like Florida and train for a gorilla like Jerome Loud that's going to try to dismember me and take my arm off, right? I got to actually go there, compete, and win to turn a paycheck. I'm pretty sure Travis is landing a plane to talk about me arm wrestling and getting more money. That hurts me. That hurts me a little bit.
Well, Travis is one of the most impressive guys on a mic. When I had the pleasure of doing a few tournaments on the East Coast with Travis, and we drove up and down from New York down to bloody Alabama and whatnot, watching that man get on a mic in the room, the entire pub just literally was drawn to the stage. Like he's good. I give it to him.
You know
he's
what
good.
bothers me?
His interview on the NFL was amazing.
He is a good interviewer. He is a good commentator. And I kind of did a little fun, pokey joke in one of my last videos that was kind of like, because I see a rhythm with his commentating, and some people joke about it. But the video went over like the 99% population head. I made a video where I was pulling James Wall, and I said Saliva and Village People commentary or Travis. And all I did was mash up the two songs to where it was like, ladies and gentlemen, some bullshit. And then I was like, young man. Because like, and every single guy is like, ladies and gentlemen, stand on your feet and pay attention to the young man from Georgia and the impressive specimen he is, as well as to your right, the young man from America. Ladies and gentlemen, make no discount about the speed of the young man. And that's every match. Of course, he's got interesting things to say in analytics, but I made a fun little spoof video about it, and nobody fucking picked up on it. They were like, oh, weird song and good match. I'm like, I wasn't doing the match. I was having fun with the gentleman and the gentleman.
That wasn't the point. Man,
yeah, I guess it went over people's head.
I truly hope that he does come back. He's I've always thought that he was an incredibly lazy arm wrestler, and yet he still was so high in the ranks that I thought if he actually cared and actually really focused, I think he could be. I still think now, because our sport is a sport where where age isn't a limiter like it is for other sports. I don't think he's passed the opportunity yet. I don't think the window is gone completely.
Is he lazy though, or is that part of his protective shtick? Like people who, you know,
yeah. When I say he's lazy, that's the wrong word. It's that he's a traveling hustler who goes where the opportunity lies.
He's basically a carny. But when you listen to his like lectures he gives about how his theories are about arm wrestling, how he sets up why, and then how he trains it.
He's a good arm wrestler.
Discussing in detail a person who's put a lot of hours in and a lot of time in with thinking about his hand, his wrist, his setup, and how to fortify that. I mean, if you go back and watch his videos, this is a guy that he might not have been out there looking to be aesthetic or a powerlifter or anything, but in the sport of arm wrestling, he definitely put the work in behind the closed doors to justify the results.
Okay. Hey, we got a super chat from Todd and Oleg's love child. Thank you very much, brother. $4.99 US. He says, no one believed RVJ was coming back either. Travis is pulling and winning again. Thank you very much for the super chat. Did people believe you were coming back, or that was you copped it?
I didn't take off for that long. I maybe dipped off for like a year or so. I didn't dip off for 10. You got to remember, like, COVID really put everybody in a fucked up place. Maybe not some of the other countries, but here there was no gym, no practices, no nothing. But up until we hit COVID, I was as active as the promoters wanted me to be. I pulled whenever somebody asked me to pull, and I would even dip off and do tournaments. And then after COVID, like, I got that last minute call for Sasho, and then I was kind of like upset with myself for taking that. And then I pulled Zarab, and then, you know, that's been that. And then I decided, like, what am I doing? Am I half in? Am I half out? But, like, I didn't disappear for like years. I actually had a way bigger layoff back in like 2009. I had like a couple year layoff. When I first met Heather, we had already had 2 kids, and she didn't even know I was an arm wrestler. I had like 3 or 4 years off.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah, I got burnt by a promoter pretty good. I got burnt by a promoter with money I needed, and I found myself at Walmart without any money to get home, and then I had to call my mama to Western Union me money so I could put gas in my truck. And that was a low point for me. I went, what the fuck am I doing here? And I quit. I quit for like 4 years after that. And my very next match I took was pulling Marcio in Vegas. After a 4-year layoff, Neil's like, you want to come to Las Vegas? I was like, sure. And I told Heather, I was like, I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to arm wrestle. She was like, what? And then so grows the tree. Yeah. So
go.
yeah,
it's one of those sports. It's one of those sports where comebacks can genuinely happen.
Right.
Comebacks can genuinely happen in this sport because it's different. Like, age isn't the same barrier as it is to other sports. And I don't think Travis is past it yet. I think that Travis, like you said, he senses where he's a good salesman. He senses where the money is. He's commentating, and he's probably getting a little bored with just commentating. He's starting to realize, hey, there's more money if I commentate and put on a show. And I think he still can emerge and be in that conversation of the top 10 guys in the super heavyweight division. I think
it's going to just depend on a lot of grit, because as you get older, of course, it's not a limiter to some degree, but it all depends on there becomes a willingness to do things that you're going to need to do to be at the level, or even at that level.
I do think,
and when you're older, your body's going to respond a little bit more negatively.
And as the sport, let's be truthful as well. As the sport attracts more money, the requirements to get to the top are getting harder. At the end of the day, people are going to inject more drugs, train more professionally. All these sorts of factors are real. So it is hard in that sense to come back. If you're in Travis's position, you got to realize he's up against tough
the field is different. If you took an average of what the super heavyweight class was like 15 years ago of just the weight, it's probably like 50 pounds less than the average of the super heavyweight now.
Yeah.
You know, you have 300-pound guys walking around.
They're talking about is Engen talking about, I think I've only heard this second, third hand, maybe a new weight categories. It's taking the 105 down to 100 and adding and taking the 115 up to maybe a 120 or something like that.
I don't know.
Feel like
it's tough because I'm not on the internet as much except for watching some YouTube.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I don't know what the plans are. I don't think you need a bigger class than super heavyweight, because once you get past a certain skeleton and mass, it doesn't really matter.
I mean, what is that like for the 170 kilo guys pulling a 115 or a 116 or 120 kilo guys? It still looks like it's.
You know what there should be? There should be a weight cap, because there is not a person, and I will argue this. There is not a fucking person in arm wrestling that can't make like 260, but they'd have to hop off the shit. Considering that guys like Wilt Chamberlain, who is touted as being a superstar fucking stud, right? superstar athlete, 7'1", was like 245. Giannis Antetokounmpo, or whatever the fuck his name is, he's like 7 foot 6'11", and he's stacked. He's got deltoids. He's stacked. He's like 245, and that's without cutting. So for you to make a 260 weight class, you could be like 285 and cut down to 265. When there's 7-footers that are fucking studs that are making under 250 without a cut. So please don't tell me Vitaly can't make it. Vitaly was the same height at 209. Let's cut the bullshit about what people think is real weight. You'd have to get off the gear and lose a lot of weight, which is going to segue into one of my conversations I want to have very soon.
Okay. We'll get there in a moment. Joseph Anthony says in 10 years' time, arm wrestling will look like the Monster Squad from Space Jam. It does. Yeah. All right, Rob, it's time for a change of pace, maybe. Let's. Well, actually, the pace probably won't change.
Oh, there's two things I want to get out before.
I'm curious. Hang on, yeah. I'm curious. Like I said, before we got online tonight, you said there's some really interesting stuff you want to talk about. There's a couple of points that you have that are super interesting. So I'd like to now invite you to lay it all out, whatever it is.
Okay.
I don't know. So just for everyone at home, I have no idea what this is either.
Okay. So for the first one, it's kind of bridging off of that last one we talked about, where how the super heavyweights are getting a little bit out of control. But I also think it's a little bit out of control with all weight classes. You'll see guys who used to be 130 pounds and now they're 200. And because they're in a weight class, people think they're limited, but they really express their what they could do with what they did. Yep. So at least if we can't mitigate it, at least for people coming in, let's educate. And there's a lot of on my last video, I talked about, well, steroids and taking it from a different angle, more of rebuttals. And in the comments, a guy like Tall Paul Hutchings, he was saying like that he heard John Brzezinski say, oh, steroids only give 1 or 2% in the sport. And there's a lot of information out there. Oh, they don't help the sport. They don't do what you think they do, whatever. Well, I got to talk to you about this, Ryan. There's a guest I talked to today that I'm going to bring on this show. And he actually did. Now, get this. He was an arm wrestler for a while, had a level of success that was ebbing and flowing, consistently where he placed, consistently what he lifted. Not a brand new guy, a seasoned guy. This is many years ago. I remember I followed his story. It was beautiful. And he knew where he stood with what guys and what tournaments. So he went on the Northeast message board and made a fake account and said, I'm going to get on my very first cycle. And I'm going to tell you guys everything, how I feel, what my blood work is, what my sex life was like, my gym training, everything. And he did it every day, checked in. Mind you, people were going fucking bananas. Why? Guys just giving you data. People were trying to find out who he was. They were searching IP addresses and everything. They were going fucking nuts. True story. I followed this guy's whole story on the old days of the Northeast message board. He talked about walking and his back getting pumped. He talked about in just a couple weeks how it used to be his max lift was now his warm-up weight at the same exercise. It all culminated with his whole strength, his whole life, his acne, his everything. First cycle. Then he went to a fucking tournament and blew it out. And it was filled with guys he was never close to. So we got to give the education of what these things really do, what they're really capable of. So the guys who are natty can have real explanations, real expectations. And they can also, some of the things they see that don't make sense. Because I'm not going to try. I would love to change the sport, but if we're going to say we can't change it, at least understand what the reality is. Because I'll get guys say, oh, they don't make that big a difference. This fucking guy I just talked to this morning, right before I got on this podcast, and he said he'd be willing to come on and talk about it. It's been a lot of years now, and he did what he did. And he wrote it down every day on the Northeast board. People going crazy. They exposed him. But the fact is, he went to a turn, and he had a super match after that with a guy he was never close to. And he didn't think he could win. And he didn't just win. He beat him fucking easy. In one fucking cycle. So I talked to him. I says, would you be willing to come on the show and talk about this? He said, yeah, I'll do it. So that guy's going to come up and tell his story a little more in depth about the good, the bad, the ugly. But he absolutely said what used to be impossible for him to lift, he was repping like a little bitch. And he was beating guys that he could never beat in his whole career pretty easy.
That makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that like I think anyone who who says that it doesn't have an impact is
They just don't
it's
want their
either
accomplishments negated.
well, yeah, they're either a long-term user of it and they're never going to get off. So that's yeah, as you said, they don't want to lose their accomplishments, or they're such a casual user of it that they don't understand anything and they didn't follow through, and for them, like if I don't know, someone say John Brzenk said 1%. If you have a chat with John Brzenk about steroids, he doesn't know anything about it. He's super like, I wouldn't have
Okay.
like.
Well, do you guys want to blow it out? Let's blow it out, because I'll blow it out. Okay.
What are you blowing out? What are you blowing out? Be
I'll blow-
careful what you're blowing out.
I'm going to blow out. I'm going to
Do we-
give you
do we
guys
need
a
to do
story
it?
right now that sometimes I tell in my comment section that is 110% true, and it's no other explanation.
Oh goodness! All right, before you blow it out, I want to I want to check. You're not going to ruin someone's reputation that doesn't want it ruined, because let's be honest. That one of the things about this subject, and it's something that I genuinely respect from everybody, is that it's a hard subject to be truthful about. I have been
Okay, but wait a
truthful
minute.
about, but
If
no,
everybody tells me, if everyone tells me to accept it and there's nothing wrong with it, then why is there so much shame around it?
No, look, because it's ultimately it's an illegal thing to do. It's like in many countries, it's
Yes.
just flat out
Yes, it is.
illegal.
That's why when people
So-
say that was
so
what my
what-
video was about yesterday. My video yesterday was when Auden Larratt was on a podcast and he basically was asked about steroids. He kind of was like, well, there's no rules against it in the game. And
Okay.
that's a silly idea to me, because there's umbrella rules. It's basically like it's against the law. Like, and I'm not, don't listen, I'm not Dudley Do Right. I'm not going to come pull somebody over and citizens arrest people.
Okay.
But that is part of it.
Well, feel free to tell your story, as long as we're not going to trash someone's reputation that doesn't know you're about to do this to them, because that I don't know what you're going to say. So
How
up
can
to
I?
you.
Okay, how do I do this? A very well-known arm wrestler and another very well-known arm wrestler in 2005 were at an invitational tournament. I was a fan in the stands because I started in 2004, started training in 2005. I went to Mohegan Sun and watched two very well-known arm wrestlers at an invitational tournament win their classes dominantly. Then the interviewer takes well-said known arm wrestlers and says, when are we going to see a match with you two? And they just said, like, whenever. The other guy goes, let's do it right now. So after the commercial break, they set up a match. And Travis was the other guy. He don't give a fuck. And he waxed this dude. And I'm talking like this. 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, whatever it was. And I'm talking waxed as easy as you could shadow arm wrestle. This easy. 2005. Yep. 2006, said arm wrestler comes back like 40 pounds heavier and is grabbing Travis like this and can't move from center table. Okay. And Travis didn't stop doing anything different. Okay? This I saw with my fucking eyes. Travis, in all his energies and everything, couldn't move motherfucker off center line. I didn't say any names, but we can spell it out. I saw not even able to slow a person down or get an ounce of footing a year later, grabbing motherfucker around the wrist and yoking him up, as well as guys like Marcio and everybody else. So we could say that after like 30 years of training, there was a new technique, or we could say it was something else.
Look, I don't think that the arm wrestling world can't see and observe and make pretty accurate assumptions about who's on heavy, who's on light, who's on just I'm on TRT, my doctor's prescribed this level, like whatever. There's variations of who's really putting their foot down, and you can see it. You can see it. But the thing that I was making mention of is that, and that I do respect, for the sake of it being, it's not, I don't think it's anyone's place to try to tear down someone as an individual, because like it's a sport where we know it's there's a lot of it going on, like like there's clearly a lot of it going on, right? No one in their right mind, only the very new and naive would think that it's a completely clean sport. But it's just not something you can completely talk about publicly. When I spoke completely publicly about mine, there were real ramifications. For example, I was basically put on a banned list for the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation by voluntarily publicly stating that, yes, I was on. I told everybody about, yep, I was on for Zloty 2019. That was when I first got on, and I did all this, and I was very clear and open about it. And I remember I actually spoke to Devin about it prior, saying, what do you think? Like, do I come clean publicly, or do I just stay quiet publicly? And if I stay quiet publicly, you're going to get, it's a double-sided sword, he said. You're going to get the people who can see and know that you're on, they're going to say it, that you're on. And everyone's going to call you a fool for being silent about it or denying it. But if you then come out, there's the other side of the spectrum being there will be people that thought you were clean, that thought you were now you're a disappointment to children and to all this kind of stuff and all the other reasons. And so it's a very significant piece of information that is not an easy thing to talk about publicly, because there are when someone makes a decision,
if you get down, like, doesn't that level of like
there are circles. Yes, it does. And look,
it is universally. People think
what
that
you'll find though, like, yeah, no, but no, let me
cheating.
Yes, okay. Let me just say though, like, I don't know what, like, people might be hesitant because you're a proud natty. People might be hesitant in the sport to disclose to you personally what they're taking. For example, they might be like, "Oh, well, Rob will look down on me if I say it." I don't know. You might not. But the circle of trust is very rarely given to the entire internet. Not many athletes out there are happy to say, yeah, I'm on, here's what I'm on, here's everything.
But you're all happy to pump the trophies and get on every fucking social media platform and flex and show your fucking gains. At the same time, isn't that choking me out with your fucking gains and your steroids? So you don't want to tell people you're on steroids because you're shamed, but no one's ashamed to go, won 18 fucking classes, won my super match. Shut the fuck up and hide then. Take your shit and go home. But everybody likes that vanity. They love that pat on the back. They want that spot. They want that paycheck. Don't say how ashamed you are if you're willing to take all the praise and all the pats on the back and all the opportunity.
So what, like, do you? No, I know what your answer is. Your answer is that it should be completely gone from the sport.
And that's a long road.
Yeah, that's a very
what I think is at the very least we should be educated about all sides of it, and if we can't get rid of it, at least there's an openness, because there are guys coming in that are natties that are in the dark, and they're getting blown out the water by somebody who comes in, like you said. Ricker came in after a year and is blowing you away, but there are guys coming in doing that because they're on gear, and these guys are thinking like, I'm just fucking no good. Like, this guy's just genetically superior to me, and his buddy's genetically and a lot of times it's because somebody else made a choice they weren't willing to make. And at least if there's an education, can we stop it? Yeah, it can be stopped. We're one good investor away from stopping it. The idea that it'll never be stopped is asinine. All you need is the right money. And there's players out there that have money that what seems like an impossible figure to me and you is just dog shit to them. Just imagine if somebody like Jeff Bezos fell in love with arm wrestling the same way Steve Kaplan did. What if he just fell in love with it? And he goes, oh, but I want to do this like that. And all of a sudden, what's like 10,000, 20,000 an event for testing for him is like a write-off somewhere, a piss in a pot. Yeah. We're one good investor away that it could actually happen if they cared. But it's all the people out there saying it can't happen, it can't happen, it can't happen. Very few things that have come down in history that seemed impossible were actually impossible. And definitely the hardest hurdle to ever climb would not be changing the regulations of steroid use in sports. It's just that people don't want it to be changed.
I agree with you. They don't want it to be changed because they want they want to get their trophy now. They want to get their win now, and they're almost there. So they don't change it. Legend of Nelda Tears is asking, Bowen, do you agree with RVJ that roids make a big difference? You said you're better now than when you blasted for Lachlan, and that's true. The heaviest amount of steroids I've ever was on was in the run up to facing Lachlan at Dare. And what year was that? 2020, I think. 2021, maybe. I'm better now than I was then. That on that occasion against Lachlan, the truth was, yeah, I felt strong. I had an experience where, like, I'm someone who I keep a very close eye on my data. I don't put it out there publicly, but I know my data, and I did lift way more in the gym on like one of the things I was measuring was just my ability to pick up a dumbbell off the floor and bicep curl it, and kind of with my elbow on the inside of my knee. And I know I picked up the 52.5 kilo dumbbell, and that was out of reach by a freaking country mile just a couple of weeks earlier. So it did, as I ran up and peaked with all this stuff, it made a big difference. Now, I didn't like it because I felt bad. Like, when I say I felt bad, physiologically, I felt super high blood pressure. It was visible you could see the blood pressure in my face. We were both, Lachlan and I were as red as anything on that day. Sleeping was awkward. It felt like you'll see people talk about steroids as the analogy of you're burning the candle at both ends. You're revving the engine of your body, and you're getting more out of it now, but it does burn it all faster. So it felt like that. It felt like it felt uncomfortable. It was like I really enjoyed when I got off it. I felt my body slow back down. It felt much more normal slowing back down. Now, I am a better arm wrestler now due to time in the sport. I am not doing anything like I did back then. I still am taking stuff that is on the list of you can't compete in the Olympics with that. But it's stuff like HCG, it's stuff like MK677 to increase my appetite, things like that. They're the things that I've played around with since then. HCG was taken by me to restore my testicular function after having lost it all and no sperm production, all that sort of stuff. That was why I took that. But HCG does, like I said, it's on the wider ban list, so I'm not going to go and compete with whilst I'm doing anything like that. So yes, it did make a huge difference. It felt uncomfortable. I feel much better now. And where I'm at 11 years of very consistent application in this sport, I feel like my elbow, my wrist, my hand has reached a point now where chasing of strength is not the thing that feels like what makes me a better arm wrestler. For me, when I say that muscular strength, what makes me a better arm wrestler now is grittiness through my elbow, grittiness through my wrist, in a way that I don't think steroids would actually help that much. Steroids will make my muscle bellies bigger, stronger, yes.
But see, here's the thing, right? Let me just get into one thing there. People say steroids and they act like it's Cheerios. We go get Cheerios here, we get Cheerios there. We know what Cheerios are. Getting a serving of Cheerios, it's fucking Cheerios. The problem is when we say steroids, that's like saying what you did is what Levon did. We'd have to know his prescription because people say, oh, well, you couldn't become Levon. How do we know there's not 1,000 Levons walking around if they did what he did? Because if he can make Larry Wheels and Bradley Martin fucking roll their eyeballs, he's doing some shit. So how do you know if you did what Levon did that it wouldn't make a humongous difference?
I was told very clearly by the person, because I don't understand steroids, right? I couldn't sit here and talk to you about the science behind them and understand which compounds do what and all that sort of. I don't have that knowledge. So I referred to somebody who had that expertise when I was doing this, and that conversation about Levon's sort of stacks and how long and what would happen. I was certainly told that someone of my size and frame in the period of about 5 years could become a Levon-sized arm wrestler if I wanted to. I was told
think
that.
About it. His frame, really, people say he's got the genetics. If you look at him, he was a 180-pound man. and there was nothing astronomical. People say his bone structure. You could see his bones. You could see his wrists, his elbows, everything. He just played the game enough at a high enough level. He's at the heels of Denis Cyplikov that he became that guy. But everyone says, well, you act like if you took steroids, you could be Levon. Yeah. If I took what Levon did,
you could. If you took what Levon,
if I did what he did, yes.
Yes, there is a I do believe that you could become, as long as you survive it. I do believe you
that's
could.
That's 100% it, right? If you get to the finish line, you can finish that race. You can run that race.
Yep. And then look, but someone, Legend of Neld is asking a follow-up question. So Bowen, if you blasted now, would you significantly improve? Like, if you blasted now, would you have beaten Ricka? Blah 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 blah. Yes, if I blasted now, I would be stronger next week than I am now, 100%. But it's a spike in the graph that,
you know what's scary?
You very quickly realize. Let me just say this. You very quickly realize when you're up there on the spike. It felt to me like this is not sustainable. Super high blood pressure, all these different feelings. It felt didn't feel good.
Now you know what's kind of scary is when you see a video like Larry Wheels put out there talking about his experience on Tren. Now, Larry Wheels, at the time of taking Tren for the first time, I think he said, he was already had his PRs. He was already like a record-setting powerlifter. He wasn't new to steroids. He was on them for a very long time. Yep. But he took Tren for the first time. He said in 3 days, 3 fucking days. Now, I don't know why he would tell a story like that or lie. He put on 80 pounds to his max deadlift. Do you know how ridiculous that is?
80 pounds. Yeah.
80 pounds on a deadlift?
What was he deadlifting?
To a guy who's already maxed out on gear.
So that was like a
fucking percentage.
It's like 15, 20%.
It's a crazy amount in just 3 days. Of course, he said he felt horrible. Yeah. Same thing. Couldn't sleep. All fucked up. But that's some very powerful shit. And if you put that kind of percentage on in an arm wrestling match, guys you're struggling with, you will walk over.
Yes.
You will walk through them.
I feel like the percentage difference to feel super dominant is only about 5% relative to it.
5% of a match, a guy that's kind of slowly tearing you open, you're posing with him and going like this with.
Exactly.
It's not even 5% is a huge difference.
Yeah. So it's a super. This is probably the subject that could be spoken about for a very, very, very long time.
What I just want is I want to bring this guy on, so at least the drastic differences of a guy who ran from a natural to a cycle into everything he felt.
And is this guy still competing? Does this guy still compete? Does he still compete?
Yeah, he competes, but not super actively chasing anything big. Holds practices. Okay. He's still active in the sport, but more from sidelines, mellow, not, he'll tell you his experience. He actually has to take things now, he thinks, because of a result of what he did to himself during that time. So it's interesting to talk on all spectrums.
I had that as well. Yep, I had that.
At the very least, on education. Because, people always say, why do you talk about it so much, Rob? Well, guess what? I just got on Greg Doucette's channel this morning and watched one of his rants. I like him. Calling out guys who are fake natties and stuff. But that's a steroid channel. More plates or more dates, steroid channel. Kenny KO, steroid channel. Everyone talks about it like it's okay to talk about it. So why not talk about it from the other side? It doesn't have to be that I'm negative. It's just let's talk about it because there are two sides to that coin. And in sports like ours, they are the decider of who's where right now. They really are.
I remember asking, I'm not going to say names, but I remember asking prominent arm wrestlers about Zlotiter when I was making the decision to go on for the first time. I was going to compete in the Zlotiter. It was just something I wanted to do. I'd never done it before. But I knew it was an untested league, and the advice I was given was, look, there are going to be times in your arm wrestling career where if you're not on, you're going to get waxed by people because your opponent, you just know they're on. So if you're going to that competition, if you're going to that super match, you have to either choose to go and fight fire with fire, or know that you're fighting an uphill battle and you just have to be okay getting your ass kicked. They're your choices if you're going to an event like that. It's not. I do believe that arm wrestling. You don't need. I'm going to say you don't need steroids to become an elite arm wrestler. I think if you are disciplined, time, and patience, the nature of the sport, the joint heavy nature of the sport, I believe you can create an elbow and a wrist that will get you to the elite level in time. If you're patient, you're disciplined, and you love the sport, what steroids will do will always make the version of you that exists much stronger next week. That's an absolute truth. Now, and how long you're willing to if you're a long-term dude, you'll get to maybe a higher place than you ever could have got to, 100%. But that's the slippery slope of risk. But if you are a spot user of it, it's just going to make you flash in the pan and better this week. But then those guys are easy to spot because they avoid competition like the plague when it's not time.
Right.
So it has a real effect without a doubt. But yeah,
something to be revisited. I'd like to bring him on. He said he's okay. Now we can move on to the next thing.
Okay,
I want to talk about this today.
That was just point number one. That went for
so
good 50
this is going to
minutes.
go hand in hand with I could take the humble route, but there's a point that I'd like to make because it's interesting to me. This could be take the humble route. You know, when somebody says something, you don't have to respond to it. But I feel like I need to because I went to practice on Wednesday, and a few guys were asking me like about the match with James Wall. I hadn't seen them since I got back, and then a few of them like pulled up comments that were made that James was putting out there on different forums, basically saying like after round one he popped his elbow, and the implication they got from it was basically. He basically was implying that round one was the truth and the rest of them were because he popped his elbow. And I remember him calling into our first podcast with a super chat or a voice chat.
And he wanted to know.
He wanted everyone to know
if you felt
that
it.
his elbow was popped and that was the truth.
Yeah.
So here's the problem I have with this. If someone gets injured in a match, that is actually a failure. So most people think arm wrestling is getting open or exposed muscularly, opened. But if me and you decide to go in different directions, failure is failure.
Break.
Whether I break your arm, pull off your tendons,
That's it. If you
pull off your connective tissue. At the end of the day, I don't give a fuck if your shoulder pops out. You don't sit there and say, I would have won that match if my shoulder stayed in my socket.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
I removed your shoulder from the socket.
If you're strong enough to break someone, you are always going to win.
Right. It's like this, right?
Always
you decide to sit there and punch each other's face and see who quits first, and you knock me out, and I go, well, I would have kept going if I didn't get knocked out.
Yeah, I had great intent of making a knockout punch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People playing the injury card when they got injured in a match means it's not just a muscular match. This is an integrity, a strength, and a durability match. And if your muscles won't go, but I can make your tendons and bones detach, guess what?
Yeah,
that's how it happens. My goal is to take you from here to the pad. And if it means I got to break your arm or your tendons, you threw your structure at me and got injured in doing so. You didn't lose because of the injury. You lost because you tried to oppose my will. So stop putting that shit out there on the Reddits and the fucking things. Round one was not the truth. The other rounds were the truth.
James is a lovely guy. I do like James, but there is absolute.
He's a lovely guy. But I heard from a bunch of people he's really trying to make it known that he got hurt in that match.
He got hurt in the match. I will give him the credit. Like I'm trying to become a better person in the sense of always looking at someone's words and actions from a default setting of trying to be curious as to what their truthful intent is, and I don't think for a second he would doubt that the right man won in that night. But I think that there would be
the implication, though, right? It's the implication.
There's an inner voice in him saying, "Oh, I wish that hadn't have happened then because I could have given." So
more. You know what?
At the end of the day,
I almost put out a fun little video about it. What I will do is illustrate something really quick and then make an offer, because I like these stuff. Because believe me, there's been times I feel like, man, like with Zarab, I felt like if I ran that back and pulled him differently, I could have had a very different result. So I'll give him the rematch option. We can pull that again whenever you heal up. But just know that I walked into that match with a pre-existing injury, not hurt from you, so that shut off a lane. which forced me to pull in your best lane. Then I was fucking shit-faced for 3 days straight. That's not an excuse. That's my own fault because I'm a gluttonous pig. I was in Ireland and I was shit-faced for 3 days straight, including the day of the match. Again, I'm a gluttonous pig.
I can verify all of these things,
Yes.
including the injury
Yes.
claim. You and I did
So
talk
that's
about
what
that in
Paul
depth.
was banking on. Listen, I was dehydrated, I was shit-faced, and I was fucking already injured. And the night before our match, I did about a 2-hour training session with everyone in the room, shit-faced. And I woke up the day of our match feeling like I needed a cast on my arm. And Heather was so bullshit at me because I was sitting there fucking drunk, pulling everyone in the room. And everyone in the room happened to be arm wrestlers and friends of arm wrestlers. So they were actually doing what they were doing.
You were pulling right-handed the night before.
Yeah, Tim Bresnan pulled me off the table. Heather was yelling at me. I arm wrestled at least fucking 30 guys on the table the night before our turn match. So if I have a rematch,
I didn't know that.
Heather will chain me in a room. I will show up to our match hydrated, hopefully healed, fucking not shit-faced, and I definitely won't arm wrestle the night before. And you might not like the outcomes, brother.
When we pull, what do I get that version? Which version of you do I get when we pull?
Man, listen, I'm my own worst enemy. I don't make no qualms about it. I'm my own worst enemy. I have demons, bro. But I'm trying to straighten that out. I'm not saying, listen, people want to call me all the things they want to call me. I'm transparent. Like I have fucking demons, but I'm trying to sort that out. But hopefully, I try to show up as a better version. But I was soaking it all up on vacation, and I happened to be having an arm wrestling match there. And it almost got the better of me. But I mean, I've pulled the guy in his lane. One of the things that makes me very strong is a lot of that pronation and back pressure. And if I fall on a hook, I got a really good hook. But I couldn't even use this pronation or back pressure. It was fucking smoked out. It was hurt. So I pulled the guy in his best lane in his country. And if he wants to run it back because he broke his elbow, and when it comes to things like getting your bicep detached, that wasn't something that happened on accident, like God poofed. You tried to oppose somebody, they ran through you, and by hook or by crook, something gave. So when you get hurt in a match, like your structure wasn't up to snuff to what they put on you. No. And that's the hurtful truth. A lot of people, the getting hurt in a match is almost like the veteran excuse for what newbies say, oh, it's technique. Because a newbie can't say that guy's stronger than me. They go, oh, he knows a magic trick. So what veterans say, because we know they know technique, is go, oh, I was in that match, but I got hurt. No, you were in that match. You threw your structure or something at it, and something gave. They broke you.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And it kind of like it was, you can segue back to the steroid topic as well. I do think that steroid users are more prone to injury because of the disparity between their conditioning lacking compared to their muscular strength as well. And so I think that ultimately conditioning is one of the most significant factors in how high you can go. And I do agree. If you break, that's your conditioning lacking.
You might have strong muscles, but you got bad ligaments, bad tendons. Somebody said on there, why get drunk before a tournament? It's a diuretic. It makes, my electrolytes are low. It was a diuretic. It's all those things. And I know this, but I have a fucking demon, bro. And I was in a place that was like, let's party. And I've been a party animal for 40 years. And it's probably the one reason that's really held me back from steadiness on things. Say what you want. I don't hide behind anything. I'm a party animal, and I'm an excessive person. I know that. But in the moment, when I live in the moment, I almost didn't care.
Yeah. Fair enough, man. Hey, we've been on for an hour 39, guys. So if you have any particular questions that you want us to cover off on, please let us know. Anything that jumps out in the comment section, I'll feature up there. But we've gone an hour and 39 minutes, Rob, and we haven't spoken about your favorite subject.
Yeah. Let's go. I'll do it. I don't shy away from it. Now that we got my one to get out there and we know where I stand, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So as you said to me earlier tonight, you can't open YouTube in the arm wrestling world without seeing Devin and Levan. The match is done now. It was a little bit of a disappointment for a big percentage of the arm wrestling fans. You saw heartbreak everywhere. Devin getting essentially monstered. What do you think? What do you think, man?
I said I could see two scenarios, and one of the scenarios was how it played out, and I wasn't surprised. I saw it the way Devin was training, even in practices. You would see this center table vulnerability that you would really need that time to, like, even with his lift, it's like a little more open, right? That big lift.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is he going to get turned in an unfavorable way before he could sink that spot? And you saw guys like Georgie and other people that have had that side sweeping kind of rolling surge get him very close before he can crack it and hold it.
Yep.
And I said I could see the scenario where it gets swept 3 times before he can freeze it. And that is pretty much what happened. And I said if he stops Levon, he's in the match, and that will change. The problem is everyone thinks round 1 he stopped him. I don't think he did. Stopping would have been if Levon surged and like literally got stopped or something got broken.
Levon, to me, it was very evident that Levon's strategy going into that match was, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to stay at center.
Well, I think there he wanted to have a level of dominance and display the dominance, and he got into a little bit of a sticky spot, and then he threw the press on it, right? He felt like, oh, have you ever fucked with someone a little bit, and then you realize you're in a little bit of trouble? You're like, oh, man, I'm in some trouble now. Even in practice, I'll try to talk some shit, and then I'll be like, go ahead, go. And then I'm out here, I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm in trouble. So I think...
Yeah, I agree. I
don't think round 1 was the truth. I think the other 3 were.
I think round 1...
Oh, the other 2.
Levon... I suspect that round 1 for Levon, there was a part of his mind that said, look, if I go hard round 1 against Devin's fresh pronation, I may compromise my wrist more than I want to. So to eliminate that possibility, he just said, well, I'm just going to stay at center, and the worst thing that can possibly happen is what actually happened, which is I got myself in a little trouble. That's fine, I'll flop press. But then once that had been done once, yes, the rest of the rounds was he revved the engine. Turns out I think he could have revved the engine round 1, and it would have looked like rounds 2, 3, and 4. I think he would have just ripped him across the table. Devin's pronation looked amazing at center, but it was just so evident that it's not backed up by an arm.
No, what I will say is, and of course, because of the things we've talked about, I don't like to put too many things on a pedestal, especially with somebody like Levon. But he did move well, and he did, when he threw the shoulder in there, it was a good nod to his ability to move and do something that very few super heavyweights can do that efficiently, that fast, whilst having another lane. So Jerry Caderet could throw it on there, but he starts there. But like the way Levon could top roll, and then he showed that he could throw that sneaky big shoulder on there. For me, that was probably the more surprising thing of that match.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was strong.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't just he put it there. I mean, he put it there and went straight with it. I mean,
he went straight.
He's a guy when you see his training videos, he's got a big, strong bench. He's not just a big oomph. I mean, he is a strong motherfucker.
Yeah, he is. And it was very clear and evident. And we heard from Devin that he's not going to pursue a third match with him and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's testament to the gap between everyone and Levon. Levon's pretty damn phenomenal when it comes to that. I don't know how long he's going to play the game. He's obviously, again, referring to the things we talked about before.
I'm calling it out now. I want a fucking match with Levon on his 45th birthday.
How old? He's younger than me. He's only 35 or something, I think.
Exactly. I want to go right to Georgia.
All right, timestamp this one. Timestamp this one, guys. That's a clip that needs to be edited and put on as a reel somewhere.
Hey, we saw what happened with Arson. We saw what happened with some of these guys, bro. I just want to, because I'll be in 10 years. I'll be 53, right? I'll be 54 this year.
And if I'm honest, you'll probably, assuming you remain as active as you are now, you'll probably be better.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go like this, and he's gonna go
you'll be better than you are now.
He's gonna get on that same sled you got with that fucking magic grease that goes zing.
Oh, well, yeah. Look, it's an interesting thought. It is an interesting thought.
Hell yeah, man! Like, just let me get guys a couple years separated, and I'll be so happy about it.
Well, it's interesting because Levon is an arm wrestler who hasn't. invested in joint heavy arm wrestling. He's invested in become the most muscular arm wrestler there is, and he wins by just overpowering in a muscular sense. So you're right that he may fade a long way. Someone like Devin, who's a very joint heavy arm wrestler, he doesn't fade. Devin won't ever fade because he's joint heavy. But
but his lifts, the lifts that he does, like over here, like the brachialis, and even like some of the bicep strength that's been acquired, will fall. So if there's any palm up action or sitting on that kind of out there action, it could be exposed.
Yeah. I had the chat with Ron in Ireland. I asked him when was his peak, and I asked him, I said, when was your muscular peak? And I asked him when was your conditioning peak? He said his muscular peak was 40 to 45, but he said his conditioning feels as good today as it did ever. So conditioning doesn't disappear.
Who the fuck knows where we're going to be with technology? I mean, a couple years back, stem cells were like, you didn't even hear of them. Now I feel like everywhere you go, like you get online and everyone's doing stem cells. So who knows what's going to pop up in the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, shit, it's kind of crazy that we're athletes based on what the current technology is, as opposed to fucking grit, will, and hard work. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. I think I'm cool if I eat a clean meal 3 times a day.
I'd be happy if I could get rid of the fat around my belly. That would be good.
That's where I'm at. I'm just trying to clean up the diet a little bit and train a little bit more. Add the training in. I'm on a different program. I'm trying. Shit's fucking tough. I get tired in the middle of the day. I got 3 coffees in me.
All right, guys. I'm going to have a quick look over at the comment section. I've been watching lightly, but I'm going to scroll and see if there was anything particularly interesting that I've missed from you guys, and then we'll call it a night after this. But it's been good, Rob, to catch up again after your cruise.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah. It's good.
And man, seriously, so one of you guys can dig out of the fucking hole. I mean, at least for make a deal for subscribers or YouTube channel or something. Imagine if you guys waited.
What are you talking about?
Channel? Huh? You and fucking school professor.
Me and schoolboy. Pink slips for the YouTube channel. I would actually. That's a super interesting. Obviously, the risk for him is way bigger. He's got a much bigger, much more profitable YouTube channel than I do. But
you got an interesting history though, where you guys pulled in that odd 3-way with Khaled. So maybe he's a little salty about that too.
He should be salty. But I would think very carefully about whether I would. I think I would. I would definitely. There's way too much potential reward. I would put the pink slip of my YouTube channel on the line for a match against him. Easy. I'll take his YouTube channel if I beat him, and he can have mine. No, I don't know. He would never do it.
But I'd do it. I'll pull the winner. But
you'll pull the winner.
Invite, and I'm just gonna put it out there like John did. I just want that Travis pay.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Well, I didn't see anything particularly captivating in the comment section as a question that we can't.
How many viewers we get? Because if this thing starts going south, you know me, I'll flake out.
Dude, we're at 315 concurrent viewers at the moment. The majority are on your YouTube channel at the moment. Where
no shit. So I'm carrying the heavy weight.
You're carrying it all, man. You're carrying it all.
What the fuck, Ryan?
I have to. Yeah. Well, it was interesting. Like it starts off, we're both pretty similar. I get ahead in the early days because of the notifications. I've got a few more subs, but then I don't know. USA just goes over there, and then once the crowd's over there, everyone goes over there because that's where the conversation is. But anyway,
right. They can start trolling and saying stupid stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. But anyway, guys, appreciate
same
all
time
of
next
you.
Week, right?
Yeah, same time next week. Now, don't go anywhere because we've got to do our little outro, which is when once it's time, we just put some porn music on, as Rob likes to call it. That might be a little bit loud. Hang on, let me turn it down a bit. But I never know what the track's going to be. It's just part of this streaming program. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
a random track.
It is. It's a random hip hop track that's not going to bust me on monetization. So there we go. All right,
Well,
Rob, give us a flex or
I think
something.
this was an interesting one, Ryan. We got a little bit of roast. We got a little bit of clarification
And no echo.
potential future
No
content.
echo.
What's that?
And no echo. And no echo.
No. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Luxury for the audience
I
tonight.
have one of my WAL banners that I was like, oh, that might be a good backdrop for me. And then I realized, like, me with like a black and white version over me, almost like Jacob fucking Marley in like the Ghost of Christmas Past. I was like, that's a little bit creepy, right? One of me is enough. Two of me with like a shadow of me over me. So I didn't put
I don't know. I don't know if you noticed, but something in your camera has like an AI setting. Every now and then, I saw bubbles floating up behind you. So
don't say
I don't
that
know.
shit. That's freaky, man.
Legit. I don't know. When you were doing this, it was like your hand was signaling to
That's like
your
spiritual
camera.
orbs and shit. I don't get down with that, man. That's scary.
Yeah. No, there was
fuck me.
definitely stuff going on. It wasn't.
I better
wasn't
run
me
out from
doing
the basement, man. You know how it is. That shit's always creepy in the basement. I'm out of here.
All right. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you same time next week. All right.